Welcome to the Walt Weekly, our first NFL sports edition. This is for the draft, the NFL draft that is going on with your hosts, Walter Latham Sr. and Michelle Sweeney McCombs. The Walt Weekly is brought to you by Beauty Blends by Ami, Soap and Love. Michelle Sweeney here. Our intro and outro music is brought to you by Uncle Nephew. Today's panel, we have panel members. We have Gregory Coleman out of North Carolina. He is the COO of Illumination Media and Technology and engineer at the Walt Weekly. We have Christopher Swiney out of New Jersey. Out of New Jersey, retired sanitation worker and CEO of Johnny Rue's Catering. We also have a parent on here, Angela Grant. Her son is an NFL player, right? Soon to be, hopefully.
Soon to be.
From your mouth to God's ears.
That's it. That's it. Coming out of Brooklyn, right?
We are currently in Long Island.
Okay, originally from Brooklyn, dog.
Yes.
Okay, Brooklyn in the house,
Brooklyn
everybody.
in the building,
Yes. Yeah, so now I'm going to turn it over to Christopher and Greg to discuss this NFL draft as we share their opinions and what they think of it. So on to you, Greg.
All right. Welcome again, everybody. This is something we talked about doing. We want to look at the pro football draft from another angle. Of course, every network, every sports vehicle, agency, overanalyzes the draft, but we want to look at it from a slightly different vantage point. We understand, the economic power that comes with being a top pick in the draft. Some of these guys, it changes their way of life. And I think one of the things that happens during the NFL draft, unfortunately, is that the African-American athlete sometimes gets devalued, and especially at the quarterback position. The quarterback position is a game changer to any team. They are the leader. It's not like basketball where you have, 5 relatively equal guys for the most part. The quarterback is the leader of the team. He's the person that's most marketed. He's the one that's going to get paid the big bucks and set the market for exactly what an athlete's worth. And a lot of times throughout history, the black quarterback is being devalued. So Chris and I want to talk about that in depth. We want to analyze it from a couple of different angles. And I'm gonna turn it over to Chris to give us, his insight.
Well, this is a hot topic for me. And me and you spoke a little earlier. Dan Orlowski on ESPN is one of the people that really gets my blood boiling, because whenever he describes an African-American quarterback, sure, he says they're physically talented, they have the abilities, but it's always they're short on attention, their attention span is short. They're not focused. Those are little subtle shots that they give to say that the black quarterback is not smart enough to play the position. So that's what really bothers me. So this draft in particular, you have at least 5 quarterbacks that can go 1 through 5, right? If each of these teams needed a quarterback, they got 5. The first 5 draft picks could be quarterbacks. So the way they're describing Fields and what's the other guy's name? Trey. What's his last name? Trey Lance. It's all athletic ability, which they are gifted athletically, but it's never that they have the mindset to play the position. They don't have the leadership ability. It's those things are always questioned about black quarterbacks. And it's been going back a long time. The game, unfortunately, for quarterbacks like, say, Mac Jones, who I like from Alabama, I think he's a great quarterback, but the speed of the game and the physical nature of this game has changed so much, where Mac Jones is now the outsider as far as playing the position. He doesn't have the athletic ability as a Fields or a Lance. He doesn't, these linebackers, they run like receivers now. The linemen are fast. So the game is changing, yet they will not relinquish that position. Every other position we can own. The quarterback position is one position that they will not let go. And it's the one position that they refuse to let evolve fully, to embrace
Right.
everybody that can play the position. So that's my big take right now on it. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this draft plays out, because a guy like Fields, they're talking this guy could drop to 12 now. Like that's a huge drop. It's a lot of money. You know, they're costing these guys, these analysts, you know, we don't know what the teams are going to pick, right? Who they're going to choose. But these analysts do create an atmosphere where these guys can be questioned. And it's a money thing. You know, you're messing up a guy's money. A guy could go to the wrong, you know, you get picked by the wrong team, that could be your career. So it's important how these guys are viewed, how they come out. I want to touch on Fields switching schools, because a lot of that had to do with the racial issue he was dealing with in Georgia. You know, there was he played, you know, he's a dual sport player, right? He played baseball, and the coach on the baseball team was in the stands when he was on the sideline screaming, "Put the nigga in. I want to see what he has." That's why he transferred from that school. So, but that created a problem for him. Oh, he can't handle pressure. You know, that's not some kind of pressure that a young 19-year-old kid should endure, should be going through. He should have been protected from that.
And it's not the kind of pressure any white quarterback would ever have to deal with.
Would ever have to.
Ever.
Absolutely. Ever. You know, oh, he was viewed as a hot shot athlete. Let's see what the nigga could do. Basically saying, we don't believe he's as good as you saying he is.
Right.
These are the
basically.
things that they're up against constantly.
Who was
And-
that coming from again? Was that the coach? Was it one of the coaches on the sideline?
Georgia baseball.
From the baseball team.
University of Georgia.
Yep.
But you know, Chris, like you said, you bring you know a couple of good things into light here. This has been happening with black quarterbacks historically. I mean, look, we know that blacks had a history of excelling in college football. Okay, blacks had and whatever the vehicle. I mean, be it a Division I school or HBCUs.
Right.
We had what it took to get the job done. We were entertaining, and athletic, and we put fans in the seats. That's what the NFL is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be entertainment. It's supposed to be something that you make watchable. But then what they wanted to put on there on us is that, yes, even though we have the athletic ability, we didn't necessarily have the intelligence to do it. And that's, you saw the league for a while go from the athletic quarterback. You know, Fran Tarkington was, you know, supposedly one of the most, you know, athletic quarterbacks out there. Nobody ever doubted his intelligence or anything because he was athletic. John Elway, when he came up, you know, he was
Dual sport. Yep.
He had a bomb of an arm, but he could run. That was never his.
That quarterback in San Francisco.
Huh?
The quarterback in
Kaepernick.
San Francisco.
Kaepernick or
Kaepernick.
Steve Young. Steve Young.
Yeah, he was a running
Steve Young
quarterback.
had legs too. Yeah, he certainly did.
And none of them had to go the route of a Warren Moon.
That's
Who
right.
had to go play
That's right.
in the Canadian League first.
Because he
To
was
get a shot.
devalued.
Yeah.
Talked about his intelligence, his ability to carry a team. I mean, we can go back to Marlon Briscoe. When
Yes.
Marlon Briscoe, the hesitancy, he was an outstanding college quarterback. The hesitancy when he went to the Denver Broncos, even though that was an AFL team who was a little less hesitant to devalue a black, you know, athlete, they still kind of, well, we don't know. We're hesitant. He's a great athlete, but does he have what it takes? You know, and he went out there and got it done. He had a cannon of an arm, exceptional talent. James Harris with the Los Angeles Rams, unbelievable arm. Joe Gilliam, who initially beat Terry Bradshaw out, you know,
He did, and he outplayed him.
How ironic is it that Bradshaw coming up, the knock on him
Was he wasn't smart enough.
Exactly. But they overlooked that.
Yep.
If I may interject, I
Yeah.
believe this mentality starts way before even college. It starts in high school. It
High school.
starts even in PAL. You have the Black athlete who has more talent, right? And they see that because we're just naturally that way.
Mhm.
So they gear their athlete to be harder working, which, okay, there's nothing wrong with that because hard work and talent is going to beat talent any day. However, they're going to make sure when the machine is behind you, that's it, right? Like, it doesn't matter what your talent is, it doesn't matter what your work is. That's it. The machine is going to push who they want. And I've seen that even in high school, because in my opinion, the quarterback that we had was not the best. He was good. He was not the best. They were better. And even white quarterbacks that were better. But for this school, he was going to be pushed and he can do it all. And if they were going to get this kid killed out there, they're going to make sure that his name is going to get out there. So he's going to run the ball. He's going to pass. He's going to do everything, whereas they should be honing in on his skills or even transferring him out and putting in another quarterback, like a stream quarterback, who may be better, who may be more athletic, may not be of the right ethnicity, but this is who we're pushing right now. So this is who's gonna go. So this mentality doesn't start at the top. Like, it starts way before you even get to college, way before you even get to the NFL. It's more subtle, but you start to see it like, hold up, this guy's better. Why don't you, if you're not even gonna play him as a starter, why don't you at least rotate him in? And
Right.
they suck the game out of you. Like, they suck that out of you. So you get to, by the time you get to this point, you kind of question yourself too. Like, can I do it? Can I, am I like a Tom Brady? Am I like whereas all along, you had that confidence. You could read the game. You can do, when to hand off. If the play that the coach gave you wasn't working, to run it, quarterback sneak. But at a certain point, it becomes so subtle that you don't realize that they're doing it to you, but they're doing it to you, right?
Yeah.
I used to tell my son started as a quarterback. Every parent on the sideline said he could read the game. I don't know why they moved him. Now, this was Black coaches that did it, right?
Wow.
I don't know why they moved him, but the object and the agenda was one of the coaches brought his son in. His son was going to be quarterback. Okay, my son was very upset. Don't be upset about it. Wherever they put you, excel, right? So now he becomes the running back. If he doesn't get the touchdown, what do? Quarterback sneak. The quarterback gets the accolades, right? Okay, don't be upset about it. You got to make the touchdown. So now you have to adjust. And Sweeney, I was talking about this earlier. If they're throwing stuff at you, you have to figure out the adjustment, right? But in doing all of that, you're conditioning him too, right? So you're either, depending on the athlete, going to take the game out of him, or he's going to rise to the occasion. Now, there's a lot of kids that he played with that at this level, they don't even like the sport anymore. These coaches have beat them down so bad. They go to every practice, they put in the work, they do what they got to do. They don't see the field. Who does it? Like, who does? I mean, and it happens. It happens in the NFL, right? You have people all day on the side just waiting for the chance. But to start them this young, where you're just taking the game out of them when they put in the work, is conditioning, right? You're conditioning from now to say, like, listen, these are the guys, and trust me, these guys are not our guys, if you see what I'm saying. These are the guys, and this is what it is. If they're good or they're not good. The last game we had, the coach had to ask the guy, do you even want to play? And the one of the parents was like, if you have to ask that question, you know the answer. Like, why didn't you switch him out? This is a coaching thing. This is not even an athlete thing. This is a coaching thing at this point.
I think
they don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It starts at the lowest levels. I mean, I coached youth sports for more than 20 years. I coached high school for a couple of years, and you get to see, and I'm gonna tell you, coming from New York to North Carolina, to see different ways, where it's done. I think there's a higher value placed on youth sports, high school sports down here than there was in New York. Just this nature of,
Talk about that.
Yes, of the location.
how things are in
Yeah.
this country.
Mhm.
And it's so imperative that parents see things from for the long term rather than the short term, because you are going to have to carefully craft who your your child is around, who's training,
Yes.
who's teaching,
Yes.
whether they're qualified to teach them. Again, you said, your your son's coach, his son played, so he brought him in. Now, is he necessarily qualified as he could be for
No.
coaching all around?
And this was even on the PAL level,
Yeah.
right?
So
you know what I had to do? Now I got to go get certified as a coach, because now you want to play with me, right? So now you want to play. So let's play. Now I'm going to play on your level. So now, not only can I scream from the sideline that your kid is a bum, I can get on the field and tell him, listen, I see it in your eyes. I see it in your eyes. This is not the position you want to play. I know what you know.
But I'm going to tell you the truth. It goes back to even more so. Unfortunately, some parents, they have the dreams that they want their son to play football, and they want it more than the child.
Yes.
Might not even be.
We had a whole things. They wouldn't even address me, because to them, I didn't know the sport. I passed the certification, but I didn't know the sport. So I'm going to run everything down to you. I'm going to show you weaknesses and strengths. And then I'm going to take an elite set of kids off your team and build my own little team within your team. And I'm going to show you how this works, right? So at one point, we have this whole chat. They wouldn't chat with me. They're chatting with my husband. So I take his phone, because you're not going to disrespect me. And I let him know, your quarterback is not a natural quarterback. You're pushing this on him, right? But if you let him play naturally, you could get more out of him. We see it on the sideline. He's scared. So if we see it, the other team see it, the other coaches see it, right? I'm sorry about the phone in the background. So here's what I'm gonna tell your kid. I see you're scared. We all see you're scared. You know you're scared within yourself. You know you're scared. Just give me some yards. I don't care at this point. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna get laid out. Every game you get laid out. It is what it is, right? And they don't want to switch you out for whatever reason, and I can't make them, because I'm not a part of the elite coaching staff. I'm just on the side as a coach. But just give me some yards. That's all I'm asking for. And you can get more out of a kid, because I see it in you. You don't even got to tell me. You don't even got to, some kids don't want to let their parents down, right? So you don't have to tell me, just give me something. Give me something, and I'm going to work with you. I'm going to build up my little team around you, and we're going to make you shine, and you're going to let them shine, because all they want to do is shine too, right? So if everybody gets to feel like they're a part of this team, we can have something here. I had a kid come to the team. First thing they do is tell the kid some other kid is a star of the team. So I look and I'm like, all right, here we go. So the kid is a street kid, right? So he starts going off, and all you getting is this. And I'm like, hold up. I've never even seen you play, partner. Like, you can't even talk here. You have no talk. You got to show me something. When I tell you that kid never let me down, to this day, this kid is about 18, 19. He still comes to check me. He was like, you're the only one that believed in me, because I knew it. I seen it in you, and I seen your frustration, but you just wanted a chance, but they're already telling you somebody else is better. No, show me you better.
Them up failures sound like.
Yeah, like
they're setting them up for.
In so many of those instances, and again, this goes to why that discrimination starts at an early age. Again, we might not be positioned. I don't care how your coaches are set up, how the schools are set up. They might not be. Everybody has their ulterior motive. A lot of coaches want to make themselves shine, and they might not take these kids and put them in situations where, if you think that he has the athletic ability and the natural penchant for being a quarterback at the next level, well, put him in a position where he's getting quality coaching. He's being exposed to different camps. He's getting exposed to different coaches. A lot of coaches are hesitant to do that because, well, that's my guy, and I trained him, and I want to take the credit for what he does, and won't send him to a Nike camp or a collective camp in that region. It doesn't even have to be a big name camp. So that puts them behind the 8 ball when they get around on a national scene or even a regional. I went to a Nike camp in New York maybe 6 or 7 years ago, with some kids that, you know, locally from New York that supposedly pretty good quarterbacks, but when it came down to regionally, they could not hang because they weren't given the training.
They weren't exposed.
They weren't around the same people. And then now, so when they're looked at high school, they're not getting the college looks because their high school coaches are not promoting them. They're getting slotted
That's the other
into
thing too.
the
That
ball
is a
handling
big thing
position, the
as well.
running back, receiver, defensive back, because they weren't given the proper background and fundamentals to be a quarterback that folks are looking for on those bigger levels. Then you add a penchant for some people to rule them out because they're black.
Yes.
Or because
Right.
Yes.
and let's go with the tall, you know, rangy, strong arm kid right now, because that's the traditional mold. That's the easy thing for a not so skilled coach to do. And then it perpetuates itself, you know, going higher. And, you know, they've taken most of the kids out of the game that wanted to play quarterback early.
Exactly.
Well, we got to also look at this. There are so many white coaches, white families that tell their kids out the gate, you're going to be a quarterback. And here we come changing what the quarterback looks like. And they're feeling like they're being cut out. You know, it used to be you had to be 6'3", 6'4", long. You could tower over the line, see over the line. Those were the attributes of a quarterback. You had this high IQ, quote unquote, right? But then you get Cordell Stewarts, you get shorter quarterbacks coming in and excelling. Yes, there was still some resistance to those quarterbacks. We even had tall quarterbacks like Doug Williams. Doug Williams was a tall quarterback. He's a great quarterback, and he languished on a terrible team for a long time, and his skill set wasn't properly used. And when he got the opportunity, what did he do? He took a team to the Super Bowl. And, you know, he was the anomaly, right? That wasn't supposed to happen again. But then it keeps happening. Russell Wilson is what? All of 5'10"? All of 5'10". But you find me a guy that works harder, that's tougher and smarter.
And more intelligent.
Yes, smarter than this guy. This guy is out there leading that team, has one of the worst offensive lines in football, and excelling on a level with the Aaron Rodgers and the Tom Brady's and all of these people. Yet, never, last year maybe was the first time he was in the conversation for the MVP.
Sure.
Had to go above and beyond, getting killed out there, right? Look at what's happening right now. I use Teddy Bridgewater because he just got traded yesterday again. Good quarterback, great, actually a really good quarterback. Came out of college with a lot of accolades. Had a Minnesota team, was turning that team around. Had a horrific injury. Never given the chance to come back to that team and get his spot back, like other quarterbacks who come off season-long injuries. He gets traded to the Jets. The Jets draft Travis Darnold, right? Or whatever his name is.
Sam Darnold.
Darnold, right? Instead of letting Darnold play behind Bridgewater, because the Jets actually had a decent team that year. Could have made the playoffs. You trade Bridgewater. Now he's with the Panthers. What do? They pick up Darnold because he gets cut. And now you trade him again to a team with a quarterback that you just drafted in Locke, and whatever, Drew Locke, whatever his name is. So where does Teddy Bridgewater, a seasoned veteran who can, proven winner, who can play, keeps having to take a back seat to these mediocre white quarterbacks who have proven nothing but get the nod over him time and time again? Had the Jets been patient, because I totally believe Woody Johnson is a racist. He doesn't want a black quarterback helming his team. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. but I've seen it time and time again.
Well, I share that opinion. And if I'm not going to call him a racist, he definitely, embraces the white superiority myth.
He wants a white quarterback to lead his team, to be the face of his team. He's not comfortable. Right. He's not comfortable with a Bridgewater being the face of his team, so then you're not about winning. That's my thing. Are these teams about winning? Or are they about, is the business greater than, I don't know.
I think
it tells me.
What we see is, are you about winning or are you about marketing your product? And exactly. A lot of them are torn between winning and marketing their product. I mean, you name some great, I can think of Aaron Brooks, Tyrod Taylor. Like, you look at these dudes, why aren't they given the chance? You bring in, you remember this Tyrod Taylor was a starter. They said
got hurt because of the coach.
I forgot the guy's name that came in and threw 6 or 7 interceptions in the game, and then got to start the next week over Tyrod Taylor, who's always already proven himself. I mean, come on, we can go down the list of quarterbacks that don't get the same chances that some of these, white bum quarterbacks get.
Yeah.
Now there's always,
for instance, Tony Romo with Dallas. Look at all that they got. Look, Sanchez. All right. The butt fumble. I mean, come on.
And Romo parlayed that success that he had in Dallas into one of the biggest contracts as a commentator. He didn't earn that.
John Madden.
Yep, he didn't earn it. He got paid a lot more than the rest of these guys out there that were doing it for years are getting paid. I think he's making more than Jim Nantz, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that.
And what has Tony Romo done in his career that says he deserves all of that?
And you remember around the same time, did they give that same opportunity in the lateral ability to be able to lose? What was it, Quincy Carter? That was right around the same time before him. Again, I'm not going to say, how great a quarterback he was, but he didn't get the same rope that Romo got,
Yes.
No, definitely not.
Well, I see Dak having that problem, right? Dak, to me, is almost like Romo.
Yeah.
He hasn't won anything, been to one playoff, but they are harder on Dak than they ever were on Romo.
Yeah.
Oh, Romo doesn't have receivers. Oh, Romo doesn't have this. He didn't have a line. It was always an excuse. But I remember Romo fumbling that punt, the field goal. That was his fault. I remember.
Seattle.
Yep. I remember when they had a chance in another game and he threw a late game interception. He had the chances to take his team to the next level, whereas Dak didn't have those chances. Now, I will say this about Jerry Jones. He's about his business, because although he didn't want to give Dak that money, he also knew Dak could be a face of the team. He's selling products out there. He's making money. He's generating money. So Jerry Jones was playing it both ways. He was hedging his bets to see if he can get somebody out there that was better, but he realized he couldn't. And this guy is an advertisement phenomenon. He's all over the place, advertising everything. So Jerry Jones said, I'm going to pay him the market value that for a quarterback right now, because I'm going to get all that value back, because I believe Jerry Jones is about his money first.
Always. You can't question Jerry Jones' motive.
Yep.
His motive is always the business first.
Yes.
He's not even concerned with the win. He's concerned with the money.
He's going to keep that stadium full.
Yes, the stadium is going to be full. Yep.
And I'm not.
I wanted Lyle to come in to speak a little bit, because his son is a running back. He was a running back, and
I remember
he's total opposite of what you experienced, Angela, with your son. His son pretty much was like the best running back on Staten Island. He got a scholarship to St. Joseph by the Sea. He was pretty much groomed into football. He was like the fastest running back, right? Get to college, UConn, totally different game. He wasn't being pampered or anything like that, but he still was like the the best running back out there. So coming into the NFL, Lyle's not an unrealistic person. He didn't think his son was big enough to play. So he tried so many times, tryouts, he's been to camps, he's been to everything, you name it.
Wasn't he playing
And
in
when it
Canada
came
for
to-
a while?
He went, that's what I was getting to. He went to Canada. But the thing about Canada is they kept him on the bench for a year. Professional football is totally different from college, right? But the thing with Canada, why he didn't get picked up, they're only allowed a certain amount of Americans on the team.
It's always been that way.
So he ended up coming back to the States doing indoor arena football. He never made the NFL. So he was groomed from the age of 5.
Well, it's funny because my son's trainer is a former Chiefs wide receiver, Chris Mano, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he really understood, because sometimes when I talk, people just think, she's a parent, she's a mother, and she's just telling you
Female.
It's her baby. She doesn't really know the game. So then I gotta
Right.
kick it a different kind of way, right? Like I gotta, whatever. So I feel like, and that's what he was telling Fernando too. He was like, this is the challenges now. You may have to go arena. You may have to go. And my thing is like, how did you do it? You walked on, right? Your coach didn't believe in you. You believed in yourself. You walked on. Fernando, don't do it no other way than how you want to do it, right? And if it doesn't work the way you want to do it, you make your adjustments then. But don't live because of his fears. Live it exactly the way you want to live it, and then you make your adjustments after that. So, in my opinion, Fernando is a natural receiver. In his trainer's opinion, he's a receiver. He's built for that position, and he has hands, right? He also has speed. So, and he's fearless, and he can find the hole. Like I said, he can read the game. He's been reading the game from he's little. So they put him at running back because he can read it, he can find the hole, he can hit the hole, and he's gone.
Right.
But on another level, my opinion would be receiver. And I've always said to him, on the receiver level, because on a running back level, you do more damage to your body. On a receiver level, they have to earn that, because they're gonna have to catch you. And speed kills. You can't hit what you can't catch, right? So he was not groomed for any position. And again, that is very important too, in my opinion, right? So growing up in the sport, no one ever said Fernando is talented in this position. They put him in a position where they needed him, because this position is where I want my kid. All right, Fernando, we're lacking here. Let me put you here, which is good and bad in a sense, right? Because Fernando even plays defense. He plays both sides of the ball. So he can read it from a defensive aspect, and he can read it from an offensive aspect. But when you get to other levels, as you go up, they want you to hone in on your skills in a position. You're not, I mean, yes, they would like you to be, they can put you here or there, but are you a running back or you a receiver? What are you? Are you on offense or you're on defense? You don't play both sides of the ball. You know what I mean? So are you special teams? What are you? So I think that is very important. And even with that, there's no guarantees for us, right? There's still no guarantees.
It's true. It's true. Because my stepson, he actually stayed running back his whole career.
Okay.
He just didn't get picked up.
Yeah.
Right. He stayed in that position, and he was groomed into that position by his coaches. He was fortunate, unlike your son with switching him in and out. But he was so good that UConn, they went after him.
I think
but
with your stepson, had he come along 3 or 4 years later, with players like Kamara and who are smaller but are more effective. See, the running back position, it has evolved. You got to be a Le'Veon Bell type running back, a Kamara. Those guys catch 90 passes. They touch the ball 25, 30 times a game. It's different now. And I think his size affected him back then, because the prototypical running back was 6'2", a little bigger, stronger, brute. I think that position has evolved as well. Had he come along now, he probably, so Fernando,
Right.
it could work in his favor because
Yeah.
I've seen the footage. He's quick. He could read the field. So when you play defense and you play offense, you understand, you can anticipate the defensive players' moves because you know what you would do as a defensive back. So it's more, it's to his advantage to
Right.
for them
Right.
to have done that to him, even though they didn't do it to make him better. It actually made him stronger.
Made it better,
because,
exactly.
Because he
Exactly.
already had the talent. You couldn't take the talent from him. So now you just enhance his abilities on both sides of the ball. And if he's stronger on the offensive end, which he is, as a running, he could play running back, but these running backs are now receivers / running backs. They're not just the regular running back anymore.
I got a kid I coached, you know, as a 5 and 6 year old, and him and his father were real tight. He was the #1 running back recruit in the state of North Carolina last year, the #5 in the country. His last 3 choices were Ohio State, Penn State, and University of North Carolina. Eventually, he chose Ohio State. Because of the COVID pandemic, he graduated early last year and enrolled at Ohio State University this January. And I'm getting clips from him all the time. He's in their spring game. He played in their spring game. One of his assets, Evan, had always been, his name is Evan Pryor. He'd always been a dual threat quarterback, a dual threat running back. Just like, I mean, he's cutting the same mold as Lyle was. I remember seeing Lyle play, and those dual threat, not super big. He's 5'10" right now, 5'10", 210. So not monstrous running back, but he's fit for exactly what his skill set is. And it's having an understanding of what his skill set is. He's track star. He's got
that track thing is very important.
And so he uses them both. He's got excellent vision. He can see the field. He catches just as well as he runs, and he's an excellent blocker. The other thing that you add to that equation is his knowledge of the game. He's been a student of the game because his father was a coach from the very beginning. And so his football IQ is very high. And so all of those things together are, to me, what led to him. His hard work ethic is what led to him being exactly where he's at. And, you know, at a lower level, we have to, have that understanding. We have to know, exactly what these kids, what the kids' capability is, as opposed to where we want them. And that serves us moving into, the upper levels. When, let's just say this child was a quarterback and they want to devalue him and no, we're going to put him at, defensive back or receiver, which is something we see over and over again, more so for the black athlete than anybody else.
Well, that's been a normal thing.
Yes, for the last
coming out of college.
Exactly.
Coming out of college, they don't put them in quarterback positions. They put them at end, or they put them at cornerback or running back.
Hines Ward.
I do want to add though that stepping back from it and looking in retrospect, right, that I went to E.J. Hayes High School. That's where Herman Boone coached.
That's right. Okay.
E.J. Hayes Tagless.
Remember the Titans.
Brothers, Ricky Lanier at E.J. Hayes. All right. When they integrated the schools in Williamson, North Carolina, all right, they wanted Herman Boone to be the assistant coach. Now, can you imagine Herman Boone, Coach Boone?
Yes.
The Titans, the coach of the Titans, being an assistant coach.
But this is what they ask of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So that's
second class.
That's set in stone. All right. I mean, it's just par for the course, and it's still the same now.
But that story. Remember, the Titans kind of typified how this whole thing has looked. Remember, he had the traditional black quarterback playing for him in the movie, but that black quarterback didn't necessarily cut the mustard for what he was trying to do with that team. So he took, it just happened that he took the stereotypical, pretty boy, tall, lanky, strong arm
locks. Yeah.
But it wasn't because he was white or he fit any kind of prototype. it was solely because he fits in what I'm trying to do on this football field.
Right,
He's
exactly.
what my team needs at this particular time. And that's what I don't have a problem if you evaluate them from that standpoint, because that's how they should be evaluated, you know. And the NFL does it for different reasons. The NFL and colleges do it for different reasons in different ways.
This is my problem with the draft, which is going to take place in a couple of hours, because it used to be take the best player on the board.
Right.
Even though Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback, had a fantastic career, and Jacksonville probably needs a quarterback, so they would probably take him because they need a quarterback. But he's not the best player in the draft, in my opinion. I think the kid Pitts, that tight end from Florida, is the best player in the draft right now. And you should be taking the best player on the board in the NFL, and they don't do.
Right.
I agree with you in some ways, Chris. You know, I do believe that teams get their best value from choosing the best player on the board. But some teams are in a unique position sometimes. They're so bad that, you know, I think in Jacksonville's position, I can agree with them starting off with the best quarterback they can take.
I get that, right? But the best quarterback can't catch the ball. He can't run the ball.
You're right about that.
He can't sack the quarterback. So if you take the best player, you can build around the best player in the draft. You got to take somebody that's going to be, this guy Pitts, to me, is Hall of Fame bound. He is going to leave a mark. He's like Shannon Sharp, but faster. That's how good he is.
Exceptional.
How do you pass a player like that? That's a once in a lifetime. When is the last time we've seen a Shannon Sharp type player? Now, Kelsey is good, and Kelsey and the other kid in San Francisco, Kittles. They're both good, but this kid Pitts is something else. So sure, they're going to take Trevor Lawrence, and I think they're going to stink a little bit more for a couple of more years, because I just don't think that team, that team is terrible.
See, I'm a little different though. And your same mentality, if I was going to pick, you know, who my team needs right now, because we stink, Pitts is great. I think he's going to be an exceptional quarterback. I'd go with Sewell, the offensive lineman from Oregon, because to me, I think people undervalue just how important offensive and defensive line is helping building a team. So I would, you know, but you really can't go wrong just grabbing Pitts either. But you know, I mean,
to say, you know, and look, Fields outplayed Trevor Lawrence in their head-to-head matchup, the bowl game, right? But Fields, the knock on Fields is, he doesn't work hard. He doesn't focus. But what do you have? 68 touchdowns, 9 interceptions? Like, that sounds like he's focused to me. I don't know what they're looking at.
Hey, that was the knock on Johnny Manziel too, but they took him, you know,
They took him, yep.
Anyway.
Took him in a high, and look at where he is.
Yeah.
Look at where he is.
Yeah.
Or look at, listen, there's been more bust at the quarterback position with these white guys than it has been with the African Americans. I
go down Brady Quinn,
Ryan Leaf.
I mean, we
Brad Peddington, O'Brien on the Jets. The Jets probably had about 5 or 6 of them. They stayed, you know, drafting early because they stunk for a long time. But, you know, Ken O'Brien, because again, prototypical 6'3", 6'4". He's got the look. You know, the quarterback the Giants just took in the draft, where they could have got him later in the draft, and they should have took the defensive end. Who's the quarterback for the Giants? Yes. Yeah. You know what the GM said? He just looks like a quarterback to me. What kind of GM? Who says that?
You need to be looking for your next position if that's your only evaluation.
Yes. I just looked at him and I knew he was a quarterback. Yeah. Who says that?
You don't look at Justin Fields. You don't look at Trey Lance and see quarterback all over.
Exactly.
If anybody's going to fit the look test, it's Trey Lance. Look at that dude. Look at him throw the ball. But again, we've proven time and time again throughout history that your evaluation process is different with the black quarterback than it is with the white quarterback.
Yes, the GM could say he looks like a quarterback to the white guy. No, the black guy, I got to look at the stats. I got to look at his evaluation. I got to look at what's that test they give them for their IQ test.
The Wonderlic test.
Yeah, the Wonderlic, which is a ridiculous test, and it was especially made to keep the black athlete.
It's beginning to be such a joke, that Wonderlic test. And you're right. I think that was designed solely to keep the black quarterback down more than anything else.
And you know why? Because those black quarterbacks didn't have the same curriculum in school. They didn't learn the things that these white guys learned, and it was a disadvantage to them when they took that test. But if you're a coach or you're a GM, the one thing that you got to recognize in a player is instincts. There's no Wonderlic test, none of those. You could see instincts. You could see when a person has the ability to perform at a high level. They just didn't want to say we could be good leaders on the field in their position. And that's the problem. And it's a problem that we should not be facing now. But I think this draft is going to bring it front and center, because I believe they're going to pass on these two black quarterbacks.
Well, that's routine for them to do, because what is a quarterback? He's the manager of the team. All right.
Exactly.
Start talking management, they're not looking at blacks.
Yep.
Okay. Again, that's where that's the stereotypical step that they take that undervalues us all the time. And like you said, Chris, I mean, you look at Russell Wilson. You can't get any more heads up intelligent. And it's not just, book intelligence, not like he's some kind of computer geek. It's workable,
natural,
throwing the game, just natural
leader.
Into this, leader. That's it. That's what you need him to be.
What was the receiver in that Cleveland drafted, and he could not stay clean?
Josh Gordon.
He took that man into his house and he said, he gonna live with me, because I don't care about whether you could play again. I care about whether you're gonna stay clean. That's somebody that has a natural lead. Not one quarterback that kid played for did that before he got to Russell Wilson.
Yep. Wow. That's being a leader.
Exactly.
And that's what you're looking for from the position. And so traditionally, you can't tell me Warren Moon wasn't a natural born leader. Just a natural born leader. You can't tell me after
Randall, not Randall, what's the quarterback?
Randall Cunningham was a leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he led how he knew how to lead. Because he was so talented and he had a bit of an ego, he did his leading on the field. Just watch what I do.
Yeah. Even McNabb, even though he gets a lot of flack for that Super Bowl, McNabb did a lot in a tough place. Like Philly is not an easy place to play football, and he led that team and he made them relevant, because they were the doormats of the NFC East for a long time until he got there. So you keep seeing this pattern continuously in the NFL. But you know who's going to benefit from this the most? The team that everybody hates. New England Patriots are going to land one of those athletic black quarterbacks in this draft, and they are going to be relevant again, because they keep pushing these guys. And New England is 12th in the draft, and they're waiting. And the rest of these teams are going to slip up and let one of these great quarterbacks fall into Bill Belichick's lap.
I'm glad you said that, Chris, because I got them and this is just a gut feeling. This ain't no science. I didn't do too much research on it. I did research on the individual players, but the perfect scenario, New England has Cam Newton up there, who's seasoned and a top level quarterback. He's been to the Super Bowl. We can knock him all we want.
MVP.
But if they get this guy Fredericks, who's extremely
I like him. Yeah, I like him.
And sits under Cam Newton for a little while, and him and Belichick can mold him, that would be the perfect New England reclamation project. And Belichick looks like a genius again.
And I'm going to tell you this. I think Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. That's just my opinion. He reminds me a lot of Brady. He doesn't have the physical attributes. He doesn't look like a quarterback. He's smart. And his instincts are there. Now, granted, he had Alabama was that receiving core. Yeah, they
Look
were
at the
stacked.
receivers that they have, in the last 2 years,
But
and
they
a
played
couple of
in
first
some-
rounders back to back.
They played in some big games and pressure situations. He played well.
He handled it wonderfully.
I think Clemson was stacked the first year Lawrence won, but I don't think they played the level of competition they played in the ACC. It just wasn't there for me. I don't see it.
I'm a little, and granted, a little biased because, just where I'm located, Clemson is like the team that I get to see the most.
Right.
And I'm kind of I like, the Tigers. I like Lawrence. I think he played at that high level for a long period of time. Yeah, the ACC is a cakewalk. He didn't get tested.
Man, they were stomping people 62 to nothing. Come on now.
But when he played against big level competition, he stepped up to that level.
But listen, that defense they had was elite. It was phenomenal.
No doubt about it. Which is why I always what grates me the most about Black quarterbacks getting devalued is when they get devalued in favor of some Big Ten, quarterback. Like they play in a conference where there's no defense played whatsoever. You get the biggest, fattest numbers in the world, and you end up grabbing these guys in the first round, and they crash and burn.
The Ohio State. How many Ohio State quarterbacks translated well to the NFL?
And I mean, black or white.
I think it's an exception with Fields because he's not. He originally didn't go to Ohio State. He wanted to stay in where Alabama and Georgia and that. You know what? He wanted to make his bones where it was toughest, and I think he could have. You're right though. The ACC, the Ohio State, those schools. Wisconsin, a lot of their guys don't translate well to the NFL.
Did I say Big Ten or is it what division is?
Big Ten.
Texas and all of those.
Oh yeah, Big 12.
Yeah, Big 12. Texas. Those quarterbacks. I mean, those guys. West Virginia quarterbacks. They come out. They put up big, ridiculous numbers and crash and burn. They don't go up against top level defense.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt for 1 second. Angela, we thank you for joining us. We
Thank you. I have another meeting. I'm sorry.
Angela, I need to find out who your son is and where he's going. So get the information to Chris or something like that, and we'll definitely touch base. I'm gonna keep my eye on it.
Definitely.
Thank you. Next week on PM.
Thank you so much.
And
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Go to Penn State. We are.
All right.
Yes.
They're gonna be battling my boys from Ohio State now.
Road trips.
Yeah.
We ready.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you next.
And I hope to see you on
I'll
Sunday.
definitely be here.
Take care.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Take care.
All right. Take care.
All right. So, you guys want to speak more about the draft and what we're going to look forward to for next week, Wednesday live.
I think Chris, how do you feel? What's going to let you know that the fix is in again in the first 10 picks? What do we got? What are going to be the
San
indicators?
Francisco picking 3 is going to dictate the rest of the top 20 draft picks, because if they take Lawrence, that changes the whole draft board, or Mac, because then you have Jones, you got Fields, you got so now you got a lot of teams that didn't necessarily want a quarterback, but how do you pass one of these guys? Like some of these guys can transform your team and your organization overnight. So I think I personally believe San Francisco they don't believe in Garoppolo. So I think Garoppolo may be traded.
You think there's a possibility of him going back to New England?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I think Belichick likes tough people. And I don't think Garoppolo stay on the field. Just to be honest with you, he's hurt all the time.
I think he's more pretty boy than
yeah. I
more
think
flashed in substance.
Flashed in substance. I don't think, I think it tells you when he re-signed Cam Newton, because everybody thought Cam Newton had a terrible season. And he didn't have the greatest season, but he wasn't bad. But one, he had COVID. He came down with COVID. Two, that team was void of any talent. And he was literally carrying them to victory, right? But he was tough and he stayed on the field. And I think those are the kind of players Belichick likes.
Yeah.
We can say what we want about Brady, but Brady, even though he's coddled a bit, but Brady is tough, and he's got a mean streak in him.
He's a
And I think,
competitor.
he's a competitor. I think Belichick saw that in Cam Newton. This guy is a competitor. He's out on the field every day. He's given us everything he has to win, and I know I didn't equip him with enough to win this year. So I think him bringing Cam Newton back tells me he wouldn't want a Garoppolo back. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think that gives you, a definite good insight. You made the perfect example. Nobody, no quarterback on the planet irks me as a Raider fan more than Tom Brady. But
Yes,
if I'm gonna be, objective about it, he changed the game. I mean, he's the quintessential, winner. And it's not so much because of all the physical attributes. It's because of his mindset and his toughness, just like you said. And that gives you a little something to look at when you evaluate quarterbacks to come. You're evaluating more than, the 40 speed, the high jump,
But you see how they value that in him because he's a white quarterback, but they don't give the black quarterbacks that same look that they gave Brady. Brady was terrible in his workouts when he what did he go, fifth round? And he went fifth round. He didn't perform well.
Stop me if I'm wrong. A slow white quarterback still has a chance. A slow black quarterback will never
has no chance.
No chance. With one exception. What's my man? That's the offensive coordinator now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He played for the Steelers.
And oh man,
not Jameis Winston. He was drafted by the one of the Florida teams, right?
Yeah, he played for Jacksonville for a while.
Yeah, Jacksonville. I can't remember. Yeah, he had the slowest wind up, everything.
Byron Leftwich.
Byron Leftwich, yes.
I could beat him running backwards, but what made up for it is he had a cannon on the arm, and he was very smart.
He was smart. Yeah. He was smart. He was a good. Listen, I think personally, Jameis Winston could have played with that Tampa Bay team. That team was stacked. He wasn't Arians, kind of left him out there to be the face of that bad season where they had no running game. So you got a guy throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game. Yeah, he had a lot of touchdowns and he had a lot of interceptions. But the likelihood of him throwing all those interceptions were greater because he passed the ball more than any quarterback in football. So he had no receivers. He had no Antonio Brown. He had he just had the one guy there. No Gronk. None of these things. They had no running backs. You give Brady, you not only gave Brady one running back, you gave him two good running backs.
Exactly.
So,
they stacked the team. But I think that was Arians. Arians knew what the long-term plan was. So he could kind of cut bait, and you can make him the Jameis Winston the scapegoat, because what's coming. We're making the move for Brady and we're going to restack the team. So it was convenient. But
I think that played into the Saints' decision as well, because the Saints had no business starting Drew Brees in that playoff game. He wasn't healthy. Yeah. They should have started Winston, and they probably had a chance to win that game because neither one of those teams played well. Tampa Bay didn't particularly play well in that game. The Saints had a chance to win. Again, loyalty came into play. I think the coach let that team down because you didn't play your best player at the time. Not saying that Winston is better than Breeze, but Breeze was hurt.
But he was better at that time. He was
At that time, he was the better player. Exactly. You put the healthiest guy on the field and you give your team the best chance to win. And they didn't do that in that game.
Yeah, I'm looking at the draft again. I think we're gonna see, from the first 5 or 6 picks, exactly how this thing is gonna go.
Yeah.
I'm really appalled at the way they're devaluing Justin Fields. To me, that is just an absolute disservice. But I think it's gonna take a renegade of a team, an organization to buck to the traditional and say, we want him anyway.
Where the Raiders at?
Well, unfortunately,
where the Raiders at?
We don't go until 16th, and it doesn't seem like they really want to get Derek Carr out of there. But
because that's a team that would do that,
Yeah.
And how do you feel about Zach Wilson?
I think Zach Wilson is talented, but I almost look at him the same way I look at those Big 12 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yes, against that competition, if I'm paying Utah and Montana, and I'm going to look great. And yes, he has looked good against some top level teams, but I'm still not 100% sold just because of what I see on the field. In his college days. What's my man from Florida, University of Florida, that Tebow looked great against everybody in college. And
let me tell you something. You ask if there's one player that got an opportunity at any position he wanted, and they just kept trying to make this guy a star, that was Tebow.
Yeah.
Even my lowly Mets gave Tebow just I've never seen anything like it. This guy had so many opportunities.
Well, I throw other reasons on the table that I won't get into now for that, But just his faith in everything that brings him helped that out a lot. But you're right. Who would have?
Listen, he wasn't an NFL quarterback.
No,
he wasn't. But he had he had so many opportunities. It's unbelievable.
He's no different. Tebow's no different to me than Vince Young, and I'm not saying he could have played in the NFL, but he proved in the NFL that this ain't for him.
Right.
One way or another. If it was on the field or off the field, this ain't for him. What's Geno Smith?
Who was the Raider pick? Russell.
He is the quintessential bust of a pick ever. The worst decision any team ever made was against Jamarcus Russell.
I think Jamarcus Russell, unfortunately, I believe he had the talent. He was lazy. And all his little people around him, told him that he's the greatest. You don't have to do nothing. Did you see the one story they said about, they went and told him to study the playbook, and he came back, the coach gave him the playbook, and he came back into the meeting the next day and said, yeah, I studied it. The coach knew that the whole playbook was blank. Yeah.
And he knew that Marcus Russell wasn't even going to open it.
Yeah, never opened it.
No.
Never opened it.
What a bust.
He was
That's crazy.
And we put all our eggs in his basket. The Raiders put all their eggs in the Jamarcus Russell, and we still haven't recovered.
And don't get me wrong, there was some players, black quarterbacks, Andre Ware, didn't cut it. There was a few, but the Andrew Luck's, even like, look.
I didn't think RG3 was going to be a good NFL quarterback.
I didn't either.
In college, I didn't think he was going to be a good.
I thought he was too small.
Yeah, that's exactly what
and it proved. But Washington did destroy his career. They had no business.
Definitely.
They had no business putting him back in that game. He was hurt, and they shouldn't have played him. But they gave in to all the hype.
Now we'll touch on the worst owner in sports. I think, at least in football.
Yeah.
But I thought that was Shanahan that put him in.
A combination of Shanahan and what's the owner?
I don't think Shanahan wanted to put him in.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that's where the beef came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where the beef came in.
But they destroyed his career.
Yeah.
Destroyed his career. I still think ultimately he would have got beat up because he was just too small, but he was arrogant too. So that was part of the problem. You know, you couldn't tell him anything.
I think he's in a better situation now than he ever was.
Behind
Behind Lamar Jackson, you know, maybe a game or two if Lamar Jackson got hurt. He don't have to be the man, but he's got the physical skill set that'll match up to whatever they're doing.
I think, and look, you mentioned Lamar Jackson. I love him. I mean, the speed is there. There's one area that I think he needs to learn. I think Michael Vick learned it late. I think he needs to learn how to put touch on the football. You got a rifle of an arm, but it's not always required. And I think he throws the ball hard every time, and that you got to know when to finesse it. I'm gonna
add one more skill set to that. In my critique, I love Lamar Jackson. I love watching him. I think he's unbelievable. I also think he needs to learn defenses better.
He doesn't read them well.
To break down defenses better, because he was so exceptionally talented.
He didn't have to.
He didn't have to, because he broke a defense down just by his presence. But now defenses are catching up to that. And they're staying honest. They're not biting. They're trusting that front seven or, you know, even the front four to be able to at least slow him down a bit. And they're staying in their looks and their schemes, and he's not reading that.
But let's be honest. That's another team with no receivers.
Yeah, that's true.
They have no receivers on that team. So the jury is still out on him. I need to wait and see when they get some talent on the end to see where he takes him. I believe he's talented enough to win in the league, but he has to know when and how to throw the football. And you know, people don't understand that there's a pitch when you're passing a ball, and there's a way, there's touch. There's a lot of things you just don't, you know, you can't rely on your arm strength to do everything for you. You got to use your head. You know, I don't think he can throw the sideline pass. It's a pass that he has trouble with, you know. So I need to see more, but he's good enough to play. So, but look how many people passed him.
Yeah.
That's right.
And despite of, I mean, he had an unbelievable senior.
Yep.
His last year in college was just off the chains. And
the guy winning the Heisman dropping that far.
Yeah. It just their evaluations. We are definitely held to a different standard than any other position. But
they're not, and that's because these GMs, and they keep recycling them. That's another thing. We don't have anybody in the front office making these picks. We don't have anybody that looks like us. You know, on the coaching staffs at the highest level, you got so few people who understand that, and they just have this vision of what the quarterback position is. They're not reading the room. They're not reading what's coming out of college. The whole college has recognized it. They've always known it.
Yeah.
The NFL is refusing to change. They have to, you know, they have to evolve, and the position has evolved. And they just don't want to do it.
I'm not giving them credit for the ability to evolve like they should, you know,
right.
Unfortunately, because I mean, there's no better barometer of that than the black quarterback.
Yeah, there's no better barometer of that with Kaepernick. Right. You know, they were on the wrong side of that thing the whole way, and they dug in. And look,
they're still dug in.
Yep.
They refuse to admit we messed that up.
Well, no, I believe the commissioner did come around and say they handled that wrong and they messed it up. It's too late. You know what I mean? And to hear that, you know, you say it at a time when nobody was listening. Yeah. You know, it was convenient.
I think he's a figurehead anyway. You know,
oh, absolutely.
Ownership.
Jerry Jones was spearheading that from the very beginning.
Yep.
And he said it. If my guys kneel, they ain't playing.
With Robert Kraft close behind him.
Yep. Yep. And they're not reading the room. What is the NFL? 70% African American?
But I'm gonna tell you what pushed the barometer. Go ahead, Walt.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what pushed the barometer, the climate at the time also. You know, who do we have in the White House? and who became more vocal. You know, there were times, there were years where, you know, the white supremacist, you know, mentality wouldn't come out. Now they came out, and that, you know, they NFL kind of got a gauge that, hey, look, you know, our demographics say that, you know, most of our marketing, we generate more income from this demographic than that demographic. And they started paying attention to that demographic and ignoring who makes up their league. And
But
what's gonna get
people,
these
people
guys.
never,
It may not have been in the stands. But if you look at the stands, they're mostly white people. The season ticket holders are white people. But
No, but
they're-
I'm talking about the rosters.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
but also people, I always make this point about Trump. It was convenient for him to jump on that and whatever and use it, but it was a twofold thing for him, because I believe Trump, his intentions too were to destroy the NFL, because he was still angry at them for not letting him get a team.
Yep.
He had a double-edged sword going
I
on.
heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on to that forever. I mean, when he was the owner, he orchestrated the USFL into bankruptcy.
Yep.
Because he tried to put the New Jersey Generals in a position where that is his entryway into NFL, and they dismissed him. And I don't ever forgot that.
He destroyed the USFL.
He did.
Single-handedly.
He destroyed the USFL.
Single-handedly.
And I love the USFL.
Because his dream was to be an NFL owner. He thought, you know, the USFL was too big, and he wasn't a too-bit personality. I need to be on the highest level, and I'm above these other teams in the USFL. I got the best product. I got the best player. He felt he put himself in a position, and it backfired on him. And he never forgave the NFL for that.
That's the truth.
Yep.
He said the USFL was off Broadway. I want Broadway.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. So cool. So next week will be part 2
Yes.
after the NFL draft, and that is 6 p.m.